A curfew is an order specifying a time during which certain regulations apply. Typically, it is the time when individuals must stay indoors. Such an order may be issued by public authorities but also by the owner of a house to those living in the household. For instance, an au pair is typically given a curfew, which regulates when they must return to the host family's home in the evening. Curfews are a common element of control used in martial law, though curfews can also be implemented for public safety in the event of a disaster, pandemic, or crisis. Arsenio Frugoni quoted in Urban Space in the Middle Ages and the early modern age the word curfew/kr.few comes from the Old French phrase couvre-feu, which means cover fire. It was later adopted into Middle English as curfew, which later became the modern curfew. Its original meaning refers to a law made by William the Conqueror that all lights and fires should be covered at the ringing of an 8 o'clock bell to prevent the spread of destructive fire within communities in timber buildings. The first formal curfew order was introduced in 1918 by the British Board of Trade, which ordered shops and entertainment establishments to extinguish their lights by 10:30 p.m. in order to save fuel during World War I. On the 17th of August 2011, a nighttime curfew was imposed on children who had run amok in the streets of Victoria after repeating youth offences. On the 2nd of August 2020, following the surge of COVID-19 cases in Victoria, especially in Melbourne, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews declared a state of disaster across the state and imposed Stage 4 lockdown in metropolitan Melbourne. The new measures included nighttime curfew, which was implemented across Melbourne from 2000 to 5 o'clock on the 6th of January 2021, due to a surge of COVID-19 cases and deaths in the province of Quebec. A curfew was ordered by the Premier of Quebec, François Legault. The curfew is expected to be in effect from the 9th of January up to and including the 8th of February 2021. However, the curfew did not end in February. It has been extended throughout the month with no definite end date declared. On the 17th of October 2020, due to surge of COVID-19 cases and deaths in Belgium, Prime Minister Alexander De Croo announced a nationwide curfew from midnight to 5 a.m. local time. The curfew is imposed on the 19th of October 2020 and will last for 4 weeks. The government also announced the closure of cafes, bars and restaurants for 1 month, and alcohol sales will be banned after 8 p.m. local time. On the 28th of January 2011, and following the collapse of the police system, President Hosni Mubarak declared a country-wide military-enforced curfew. However, it was ignored by demonstrators who continued their sit-in in Tahrir Square. Concerned residents formed neighborhood vigilante groups to defend their communities against looters and the newly escaped prisoners. On the second anniversary of the revolution, January 2013, a wave of demonstrations swept the country against President Mohammad Morsi, who declared a curfew in Port Said, Ismailia, and Suez, 3 cities where deadly street clashes had occurred. In defiance, the locals took to the streets during the curfew, organizing football tournaments and street festivals, prohibiting police and military forces from enforcing the curfew. On the 14th of October 2020, following the surge of COVID-19 cases and deaths in France that threatens to overwhelm hospital, French President Emmanuel Macron declares a national state of public health emergency for the second time and impose a nighttime curfew in Île-de-France region that includes Paris, as well as Grenoble, Lille, Lyon, Marseille, Montpellier, Rouen, Saint-Étienne, and Toulouse. The curfew begins from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time for the first offense. A second offense would bring a far steeper fine of €1,500, or around $1,762. On the 23rd of October, curfew was expanded to 38 departments and French Polynesia. In total, 54 departments and 1 overseas territory affected by new restrictions, comprises 46 million people, or 2/3 of French population. Under Iceland's Child Protection Act, unless on their way home from a recognized event organized by a school, sports organization or youth club, During the period the 1st of May to the 1st of September, children may be outdoors for 2 hours longer. Children and teenagers that break curfew are taken to the local police station and police officers inform their parents to get them. The age limits stated here shall be based upon year of birth, not date of birth. If a parent cannot be reached, the child or teenager is taken to a shelter. Several medieval towns in Ireland had a curfew after the English model. In Galway, a curfew bell was rang every night before the town gates were locked. In Kilkenny, the night watchman stood guard over the market stalls, from curfew to cockcrow. During the 1916 Easter Rising, Dublin was under curfew between 7:30 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. during the Irish War of Independence. Curfews were